Flaherty. That's spelled Reneeflaherty. I'm a senior attorney at the Institute for Justice. The Institute for Justice is the national law firm for liberty. We represent individuals and small businesses all across the country whose rights have been violated by the government. And we work in a lot of areas, and two of them are protection of property rights and the right to earn an honest living. And the combination of those two is what we're here to protect today. I'm here today with Robert Fellner, who's the lead attorney on the case, and our client Libby and one of her parent clients. And we're here because the city has shut down Libby's business teaching backyard swim lessons. So I'll turn it over to Robert now to tell you more about the case, and then he'll turn it over to our client and her parent, and then we're happy to answer questions afterward. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. My name is Robert Fellner, that's spelled F-E-L-L-N-E-R, and I am an attorney at the Institute for Justice. Since 2018, our client, Libby Souter, has earned her living by offering private swim lessons in her backyard pool. Many of Libby's students are young children with special needs who greatly benefit from the private one-on-one instruction that she provides them. Over the years, Libby has taught hundreds of students how to swim, and she enjoys broad support from her community, which includes the more than 30 residents who recently came out in support of her and her business. Unfortunately, the city shut Libby down earlier this year in response to the complaints from a new neighbor. But this neighbor began complaining before he'd ever moved into the property or ever saw Libby's swim lessons for himself. But Libby has a constitutionally protected right to earn an honest living, and the city cannot just take that right away from her. After the new neighbor began complaining, the city looked at its zoning code and apparently discovered that a provision of that code had always banned any form of home business that operates outdoors. This, of course, means Libby can no longer run her business because her backyard pool is obviously outdoors. But the government can only use its zoning power to prevent genuine nuisances or to otherwise protect public health and safety. It cannot punish innocent people who have done nothing wrong. That's zoning abuse, and it's unconstitutional. Moreover, the city approved Libby's business back in 2018 and then renewed her business license for 6 straight years thereafter. In other words, Libby did everything right and she played by the city's rules. It is unjust and unlawful for the city to now go back on its word and pull the rug out from under her. Finally, the city's blanket ban on outdoor home businesses also violates Libby's right to equal protection. Although the city won't allow Libby to teach even a single child in her backyard pool, Columbia actually requires home daycares to operate outdoor play areas for up to 6 children at a time. That's arbitrary, it's unfair, and it's also unconstitutional. If home daycares are allowed to operate outdoors, there's no good reason to shut down Libby's private swim lessons. It's for those reasons that we've stepped in to partner with Libby to file today's lawsuit, where we will simply be asking the court to allow Libby to continue providing these critically important swim lessons to the many Columbia families who desperately want to receive them. And with that, I'd like to introduce Libby so she can speak to you directly about how this case has impacted her and why she's decided to stand up and defend her constitutional rights.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Libby Souter. It's S-O-U-D-E-R. Since 2018, I've offered private swim lessons in my backyard with a license from the City of Columbia. And I have taught hundreds of children in this time how to swim and that life-saving skill of water safety. Recently, the City of Columbia has gone and changed their decision or made a new decision about taking my business license away and banning backyard swim lessons. It's disheartening to me because it's something we need so badly, and children in Columbia need the accessibility and the offering to choose where it's good for them to learn how to swim. This severely limits accessibility if you limit swim lessons to just indoor commercial facilities. Children historically have learned how to swim in Columbia and many other places, especially in the South, in backyard pools. We don't have the availability of indoor facilities here in the city of Columbia. There's just very few options. And so this is a really important decision. It takes away the rights of parents to choose how their child would learn the best in the environment that they would do the best. And it also takes away the opportunity for other great swim instructors who are operating in the city of Columbia in their backyard pools and takes that business away from them. So I'm really grateful to the Institute of Justice for coming along and helping us challenge this ruling. It's not something I could have continued on my own. I also really appreciate my local counsel, Jeff Chambers, who, without his help over the past 2 years, we wouldn't be here today. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come out here today and listen to our story. And this is our client, or one of my client's fathers, Philip Van, and he has a few remarks as well.
My name is Philip Van. Both of my children have taken swim lessons from Libby since 2018. Each summer, at least a refresher. My wife and I found it imperative, owning a backyard pool, that our children learn to swim and learn water safety at an early age. Columbia is surrounded by rivers, lakes, and backyard pools that are the heartbeat of our entertainment during the summer. And it's imperative that all children have access to learn to swim, to learn to be safe around water. Each and every time that we were there, it was a well-oiled machine. Everything went smoothly, and the one-on-one lessons really helped our children learn water safety. So, thank you.
If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so this interpretation of the law, so to get this clear, this was already existing. There was no change to the code.
Correct.
But it wasn't enforced as such. Am I understanding that correct?
That's absolutely correct. This law has been on the books forever. I mean, I went back and saw at least as early as 2011, but most likely was on the books well before that. It's been on the books unchanged, and just never been enforced until the new neighbor who never saw the lessons, who began complaining before moving in, basically brought that to the city's attention and just kept on them about it.
So to understand that correctly, hypothetically, in another situation, a yoga instructor is not legally permitted to offer yoga lessons in their own yard.
That's absolutely right. Under the city's blanket ban on home-based businesses that operate outdoors, a yoga instructor couldn't teach outside. A painter couldn't paint a portrait if they're doing it outside. I mean, it's just a blanket ban. And the city was very clear about kind of how categorical this ban is, and how it has nothing to do with the fact that, as they admit, these Libby's swim lessons are so important, and they've never once said she's disruptive or a problem. They just said, we have this law we never interpreted. If it's outdoors, it's banned. And that's, again, it's unconstitutional. It violates her right to earn an honest living. And that's why we're challenging it.
I'd like to get a little bit more information from you, the impact this has had on you financially. Have you had any recourse to continue your lessons in another way?
This has been a very stressful last 2 years. I have continued to operate. The city allowed me to operate through our most recent, when they issued their interpretation July 9th, and then when we appealed that to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So they did allow me to continue my swim lessons this year. But with that ruling at Bozo, we are obviously no longer able to operate outdoors. My pool is heated, and so and my business is seasonal, but I do operate in the spring and summer. And sometimes there have been years that I've offered a few lessons as late as October. just a couple a day. I operate 4 days a week during the season for like a few hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day. And it's been very difficult. As far as moving forward, it is very hard to find pools that will allow you to rent their locations. I do have one right now. I have to provide them with my insurance policy, which thankfully I have, but also have to pay rent on that pool when I have a perfectly great pool, a pool that's frankly better suited to teaching because it's heated and I can keep that temperature constant, which really helps children to learn if they're in a good environment. An environment, if the pool temperature is too cold, things get really hard. So yes, it is. There's a possibility that I can find some locations, but I'll never be able to find a location that's as well suited as my own backyard. We've got great parking. We installed a circular driveway back in 2019 to accommodate our students, our parents who come in, park one at a time, So it's definitely already suited for that purpose.
Get your kind of emotional gut reaction when you first learned of this complaint and then of this ordinance, because obviously you had been operating
Right.
for a number of years. What was your initial reaction? How did this all make you feel?
My initial reaction was shock. I was really shocked when zoning called me in 2024 and stated, that they were going to issue me with a notice of violation, and they weren't clear. They didn't tell me exactly what the problem was. We've tried very hard to get them to give us specific answers before the Institute of Justice got involved, and even before I got hooked up with Jeff Chambers. Would obviously be willing to work with the city, or was in the past, and they were never receptive to anything other than this business needs to be shut down. This just can't happen that way. So it's very upsetting. I've done this. I've taught swim lessons almost the majority of my adult life. I taught my children how to swim. I taught my sister's children how to swim. Taught most of my neighbors' children how to swim. It brings me great joy. And it's so neat to see a child who has, fear and who's completely, helpless in the water go from that to 4 days later being able to swim and enjoying the water and being safe in the water. And not always 4 days, but sometimes we can get it done pretty quickly. In a private or, one-on-one basis, it goes a lot quicker. So.
How did this all come about with the involvement?
You want to speak to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did this matter to you?
Well, as Renee mentioned earlier, one of our primary areas of focus is protecting the right to earn a living, as well as protecting the right to use private property. And this ban implicates both of those areas. It's preventing someone from using their own property in a peaceful and productive manner, and it's totally taken away her ability to earn an honest living. And so that's what we do. We are trying to protect those rights. This ordinance violates both those rights, and that's why it spoke to us.
And so ultimately, what are you seeking to accomplish here by filing this?
We are seeking to have the ordinance declared unconstitutional as applied to Libby's private swim lessons business, which in simple terms means Libby would be allowed to operate her swim lessons on a seasonal basis for no more than 3 children at a time, just as she's been doing for years without issue. Great. Thanks. And just to sum up, at its core, this case is about preventing the government from abusing its zoning power to shut down a harmless home business and prevent peaceful people from earning an honest living. With that, thank you very much. If you'd be interested in scheduling any one-on-one interviews with myself or Libby, speak to Andrew and we can make that happen. Thank you.